Okay, here we go. The Ben and Maggie Show.
He's about to get crazy and wild. Stay for a while. Don't touch your radio dial.
Ben and Maggie Show.
Kicking it back, sports talk. Listen to that and stay tuned for some giggles and laughs. Go.
1-2 the count to Freddie Lynn. Lynn, surprisingly, has really been struggling with men in scoring position. And he's got the bases loaded. He out at first, Carew at second, Trio at third. 2 out. And he drives it to deep right. Back goes Murphy, away back, and there it is, the first grand slam in All-Star history. Adley Hammaker has been driven to cover on the first grand slam home run in All-Star history, hit by that man, smiling Fred Lynn.
Welcome to the Planet Mikey Show.
And we will have that man, smiling or not, on the podcast in just a moment here. Fred Lynn joins us on the Planet Mikey podcast. But first, let's just remind you that we are brought to you by Pro Automotive. ProAutomotiveMA.com is the website location, and the actual locations are Webster and Dudley, the greatest professional automotive repair service ever. And I say that unblushingly. They have certified technicians, great management, and they are really good people. ProAutomotiveMA.com if you need yourself. Oh, and by the way, I know you're hearing me making the echo. Whatever ails your vehicle, Pro Automotive has the cure. Says Dr. Mikey. Welcome to the. We didn't have a show last week because I was on a DL. I had a cold and I was out, and I didn't want to subject people to the sound of phlegm on their on their stereo speakers. But we're happy to have Fred Lynn, who's one of the greats, one of the most beloved Red Sox players of all time, and a member of the Red Sox Hall of Fame since 2002. Freddie, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you very much.
Now, I follow, it's at Fred Lynn 19. What is it on Twitter? What's your Twitter handle? I forgot.
Geez, that's not my deal. I have no idea what it is.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. Well, believe me when I tell you, he's got pictures up there of his progress because Fred Lynn has 2 brand new knees. Fred, tell us what that's like.
It'll be a month tomorrow when I get the operation, and I had 2 partial knee replacements, both on the medial side. When you looked at the X-rays, they were identical. Great on the outside, terrible on the inside. Basically wore them out.
Yeah, wear and tear.
So I just decided to do both at the same time. My doctor agreed. It was a good procedure. He's done 1 million of them. And I just wanted to go through this pain and all the rehab just one time. And so it's been a month out. I'm walking around. I can drive the car. I can do a lot of different things. Can't play golf yet. I'm still waiting to do that. But things are advancing pretty quickly. I've lost a lot of the swelling. I have a lot of flexibility. And I'm doing the PT at least once or twice a day for a month. So I'm working harder now than when I was playing ball.
Well, good luck because the golf is the most important thing, at our age. And I know you had a birthday this month, and you're now 71, although you look 40. Still,
well,
I mean, you really.
I have new knees, so I can't wait to try these puppies out when they're good to go. I might be able to take BP.
Well, why not? Listen, weirder things have happened. Bill Lee is still pitching, and he's like 76. And did you hear what happened to Bill Lee, by the way, with the Savannah Bananas? Did you hear that story?
I did. Yeah. In fact, I reached out to him, make sure he was okay. But that guy, he's going to pitch until he can't.
I know.
And who's to say when that is, because he can still throw.
He loves you, Fred.
The thing is, he probably throws just as hard as he did when he was playing.
Right, he still throws 67. You know what? He thinks the world of you, of course, because you saved his ass so many times with great catches in so many different ball games. But when I talked to him after the incident with his heart, he said, they defibrillated me. He said, but they didn't have to. I was just about to get up. He is so.
He needed the extra PR.
He is a piece of work, that guy. Now, Fred Lynn broke in 1974. And to say Freddie broke in with a bang is to really be the biggest understatement you can make. Not just the 15 games you had at the end of 74 where you hit 419, but the 1975 year has to go down in history, baseball history, as one of the all-time greatest rookie seasons. I mean, you're the only guy ever to win Rookie of the Year and MVP. in the same season. So to start as an MVP, where do you go from there? My God.
Yeah, I set the bar pretty high. There's no question. But, to be honest, I expected to do well. I had done well at the collegiate level in just about every level that I'd ever participated in. And just because it was the next level playing with older guys, I figured I'd do okay. But obviously I didn't think I was going to win those awards. But the big hole for us, or for me personally, was we didn't win the World Series. I mean, we got there, and we got to Game 7, and for the first time in my life, in a championship game, I'd lost. So I thought about, I didn't really think about the awards. I thought about that loss in the offseason.
Well, that's because you're a winner. You know what, Fred? The thing is, I blamed that entire 1975 World Series loss on one guy, and it's Vern Rule. He broke Jim Rice's. Yeah,
up and in fastball to Jimmy, and he just couldn't quite get his hands out of the way, and it got him on the top of the hand.
Took him out.
His hand.
Yeah, took him out of the World Series. And by the way, it's not as though the Red Sox couldn't have used his right-handed bat against all those Cincinnati Reds left-handers. I mean, that Vern Rule pitch screwed the Red Sox out of breaking the curse way back in '75. Do you agree?
I agree, absolutely. I had this discussion, let's call it that, with Johnny Bench, and he said, you could have Rice and you still wouldn't win. I said, listen, Johnny, we're going to beat you guys in 6 games. Every game we lost to you was by 1 run.
Right.
And you don't think Jimmy Rice, our number 4 hitter in the lineup, would have be a factor in the game? It'd be like the Reds not having you. Do you think you guys would win without you in the lineup? No.
Well, there you are. And by the way, Rice hit 309. He had 22 homers, drove in 100. Now, you, in your rookie year that year in '75, 21 homers, you drove in 100 runs, and you led the league in doubles, runs scored. You were the MVP. You were the rookie of the year. You won the Gold Glove. I mean, it was just an unbelievable year. And they, of course, everybody called you, the Gold Dust Twins. Both you guys had such great years. One right-handed hitter, one left-handed hitter. Roughly the same age. I think you're 1 year older than Jim Rice, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, just, a few months, actually. Between, you put Dwight Evans in the mix, and he's just a few months older than me. So you've got 3 guys that are basically 22 years old in 1975, or 23. It looks like we're going to be there forever. And all 3 of us produced. So that just doesn't happen in baseball very often. First of all, you're not going to have a team that's willing to have that many young guys in the lineup at the same time.
Right.
And then the fact that they're all on a pennant contending team in a town like Boston.
At that age.
That doesn't happen. So it was so unique. That season was so unique. So many young guys on that team. Rick Burleson was 23.
Rooster, yeah.
And you've got 4 guys right there that are 23 years old starting for a pennant contending team in a town where they expect you to win. So it's just unheard of.
Yeah.
And the fact that we all did well, and the nice thing about it for all of us is that the press really didn't look at one guy and say, well, this rookie is doing this. It was all of us.
Yeah, you shared it,
so
yeah.
We felt comfortable.
Now, how is Rooster doing? I loved Rooster because he was a red-ass shortstop, and he played so hard. And I'll tell you, did he have a gun at shortstop or what, Fred?
Yeah, he had probably, pound for pound, he definitely had the best arm in the American League. And I'll tell you a couple quick stories about Rooster. Firstly, I went to a high school just outside of L.A., and so did he. We played against each other in football. He was a senior and I was a junior, and his team waxed mine, by the way. But so I knew of him then. And then when we would, during the wintertime, we would work out at one of the local colleges. And so Rooster and I would play catch together. And we would get about 30 feet from each other, and we try to break each other's hand. We just throw it as hard as we could right out of the get-go.
That's nice.
So that's our attitude. Let's see how hard we can throw it, see if we can hurt the other guy.
That's a great way to end a career. Actually, when you think about it, clearly.
Yeah, good hand-eye coordination. It works on your hand. Guy throws in a little turn on.
Yeah.
Turn your glove.
It's not an innocent game of pepper. The thing about now you played football. So what was you were a receiver?
I was a wide receiver or defensive back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you, by the way, you went to USC, and you won the College World Series there. But there was another guy who went to USC who was a pretty good wide receiver who also is named Lynn.
Yeah, Les Swan. He was my teammate because I went there to play football. That was my scholarship. It wasn't for baseball.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So I played football with Swanee and Sam Cunningham and that group of guys my first year. And and I was a footballer first and baseballer second.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I
never
used
knew
football
that.
to get me to the big universities.
That's like when guys get. I mean, I know Dave Winfield got recruited in 4 different sports, except hockey. They didn't recruit him in hockey, 3 sports, I guess. But when you think of Dick Raditz, he got a basketball scholarship to go to Michigan State. That he's throwing 100 miles an hour in the big leagues. It's like it's to be a good athlete in 2 different sports at the same time. To the point where USC's giving you a football scholarship. Did you ever regret not playing football?
Yes. The short answer would be yes. After my first, in those days, freshmen weren't allowed to play football, varsity football, so we had our own team. But we basically worked out with the varsity every day. And since I played offense and defense, I was the scout team, say we're playing Alabama. So we'd have our first string offense against Alabama's defense, which I'd be a part of, and then vice versa. I'd play offense too against our first team defense. Mm-hmm. So we'd do that, and then we'd have our own practice. So it was a long day for us, and I had a good season my freshman year. In fact, the first time I touched the ball was a kickoff against Cal. I went 80 yards for a touchdown. So it was a pretty nice start. But in baseball, freshmen could play varsity. So I did. We won the College World Series. I was on the all-tournament team, and then I played for the U.S. in the Pan Am Games. I led the tournament in home runs down in Cali, Colombia. And we lost to Cuba in the gold medal game 4-3, and I'd hit a home run to put us ahead in that game. So I played, I saw a lot of really good players in our country and all of the Americas. And I said, I think I'm going to advance in this sport. And that's when I came back and I quit football. Toughest decision of my life.
But what happened to your basketball? How come you didn't have a basketball career?
I mean, it was the next year they went. SC was national champs in '72 and '74. So if I had stayed at school and played football, I would have won 2 national championships in football and 4 in baseball.
Well, that doesn't happen. And not even Bo Jackson can talk like that, right?
That's right. It would have been. Well, back then, you didn't get much fanfare, but there's no way you sneak up on anybody when you have that kind of credibility.
That's right. People have already kind of noticed you a little bit. Now, let me ask you this: when you came up to the Red Sox, were you in a hurry to get up to the big club based on the fact that you had to spend a year in Bristol, Connecticut, and a year in Pawtucket? I mean, is that motivation to get you the hell onto the big club?
Yeah, you know what. The minor leagues, I signed mid-July of '73, so I got to the team. The season was half over, basically, and they were terrible in Bristol, and that's where we started. And I was there about a month and a half, and they called Jimmy Rice and I up to AAA because the team was in the playoffs, and we helped them win they called it the Little World Series. We won it in '73, and then in Pawtucket started on AAA the next year, '74. And, God, it was brutal. I hated it. I just hated the minor leagues, busing everywhere. We bussed in AAA. We set some sort of record for miles accrued busing. We were like 4 different cities, and we busted like 17 hours each time. And this is AAA.
Oh, man.
I was going crazy. Get me out of here. And finally they called me up. I said, thank you.
Yeah, and when you're in AAA town, the girls on the road are AA. It's not going to be fun. No question about it. So you come to the Red Sox, you have this big splash, this MVP, Rookie of the Year thing, and the disappointing ending, which we talked about, which I'm going to continue to blame on Vern Rule because
that's right.
Cincinnati had nothing but lefties coming at you, with Gullett and all those guys. But moving along, you really kind of had a huge secondary resurgence, even topping, I think, the numbers you had in your rookie year in 1975. In 1979, you had an unbelievable season.
Yeah, '79 was an interesting year for me because after the '78 season, we lost that playoff game to the Yanks.
Right.
I kind of discovered I was watching Jimmy, and he never seemed to get tired in the second half because he's a big, strong guy, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd waste away to nothing. I'd lose 10 pounds easy during the course of the season, get down to like 170. And so after the 78 season, I discovered Nautilus, the gym equipment. And I started lifting just kind of like I would call it an executive workout. No free weights, just machines.
Yep.
And then I did that during the winter, and I put on about 15 pounds of muscle. But, I didn't really think much of it until I got to spring training, and the guys were looking at me and say, geez, what happened to you? And I got bigger. And so now I'm hitting balls that normally would be like fly ball outs. Now
Sure.
they're home runs. And I said, whoa, who's that guy?
39 home runs that year.
Yeah, it was really different.
And Jimmy had 39 too.
For somebody of my size,
Yeah.
To hit that many home runs in an era where the ball didn't really travel and the ballparks were big.
Right.
That was kind of significant for me.
I think you got screwed out of an MVP that year as well. I mean, let me just run these stats by these other guys here because, I'm the stat guy, okay?
Go ahead.
116 runs, 42 doubles, 39 homers, led the league in batting average, OPS, slugging, on-base percentage, but somehow Don Baylor, and I'm not knocking Don Baylor, he had a great season, but what's Ken Singleton doing ahead of you in the MVP votes that year? And you beat Brett out for the batting title, and you had a better season than George Brett. What happened to the voting that year? You didn't get that MVP.
Well, I was told that their team won and ours didn't, and that was a huge factor in a lot of the voting. And then, a couple years later, Robin Yount won, I think, his second MVP, and his team finished like fourth.
Right.
And wait a minute.
Right. How about Ernie Banks?
Hey, wait a minute. Well, the thing that bothered me the most, Donnie was my teammate when we went to Anaheim,
Yep.
in California, and I love the guy.
Good guy.
But he was a DH. That's a whole different animal than being the center fielder.
Hello, and a Gold Glove type center fielder. Don Baylor didn't pick up a glove that year, right?
No, but he carried the club. There's no question about it. He drove in like 140 runs.
Yeah.
So he had a tremendous offensive season. But that's just one way. So I just was like, okay. He looked at me when he could have laughed when we got together. We're taking some pictures because we're all MVPs, and somebody else said, Donnie, are you sure you're an MVP?
Well, it's inexplicable to me. The DH, with all due respect to the guys that have done a great job, Big Poppy is another one who have carried the team to glory based on just swinging bat. But Harold Baines made the Hall of Fame, and he didn't pick up a glove. And you got all these Gold Gloves. I say the same thing when Dwight Evans was on with us. I said, Dwight, you got 8 Gold Gloves. And people are not considering the 387 home runs he hit on the proper level. He got ignored for Hall of Fame voting, which made me sick.
Yeah, it's really difficult to compare eras, and the game has changed so much since the time that the three of us played, and statistics they're skewed a little differently, and there's so many more statistics than there ever was before. And to be honest, I don't even know what some of them mean.
Yeah. Right. All those the war and all that
really
stuff.
Don't. I know what the box score, and then I see all these things. What's that? What that means?
Yeah. Used to be so easy. RBIs. You look now. It's like what's war? What's defensive war? What's all this war talk? By the way, Fred, we have a quick 30-second commercial here. Let's see if you recognize this one here. You ready?
Hey, Freddie Lynn. Know what kind of fragrance a woman really likes on a man?
Something manly and fresh.
For his face, for his body.
Something that lasts all day.
Aqua Velva's great musk. It lasts from dawn until dusk.
Musk from Aqua Velva, the extra strength lotion with a fragrance that lasts all day.
Aqua Velva's great musk. It's so manly and fresh all day. There's something about
An Aqua Velva man.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, God.
was that your first time singing in a commercial? That was great.
That was, what? I remember, I grew up in Southern California, and we had music back then. That was a class, and I was terrible at it. I couldn't sing a lick, and it was the only class I ever got a C in. And so, what do I have to do for this commercial? I have to sing. And these two ladies, they were professionals. They were absolutely
lovely,
great.
Lovely
we filmed
professional.
at Dodger Stadium, and then it comes time for me to sing. And I'm singing with the girls. I said, okay, I can do this. And then they said, okay, do it by yourself. Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no. It was like, oh, my God, it was so embarrassing.
Yeah. Someone's going to say yes to doing it by yourself when you're surrounded by two beautiful women. I just don't think that works. We have, speaking of commercials, I got this Bet Online, which is our number one source for your sports betting this season. By the way, it's now legal in Massachusetts, Fred. Everything from pro and college basketball, UFC, MMA, NHL, whatever you want to bet, you can bet it. BetOnline.ag is the location. You'll find the latest odds, all the info. With live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable, BetOnline is truly the fastest and the easiest way to bet your favorite leagues and sports. So go to their website. And here's a bonus they're offering you. It's called CLNS 50. What is it, Ben?
CLNS 50.
That's what I just said.
Yes.
CLNS 50 gives you, if you put that in as your bonus, what's it called, a promo code? Yeah, you get 50% of your first deposit given to you for free. As it's like free money. Use CLNS 50, get your rewards, betonline.ag, where the game starts. Now, Freddie, we're talking to Fred Lynn. We've got Bill Smith, Ben Kitchen, yours truly, Mikey Adams, and the one and only Fred Lynn, who I'm going to tell you is one of the most beloved players in the history of Red Sox baseball. Everybody always says, I go online, if I tweet Fred Lynn's birthday, February 3rd, everybody goes, oh, he was my favorite player. Oh, God, I loved Fred Lynn.
Fred comes from that time when baseball was baseball.
Yeah. But everybody, it's very rare to have a player that everybody just loves the guy, Fred. Do you get a lot of accolades and people wanting to shake your hand, take selfies with you?
It's kind of fun post-career to hear what people say about you. And I'm most proud of the fact that they still remember me for my defense, because I always consider myself a defender before a hitter. And I just absolutely beam when people remember plays that I made. And sometimes they'll recall something that I have forgotten. And then they'll say, do you remember the play you made against so-and-so against here?
Yeah.
And I think, wait a minute. Yeah, I do remember that. And thanks for reminding me. But that makes me more proud than anything else is when people recognize the fact that, I played all out. I certainly sacrificed my body a little bit to make plays. But that was the fun part. One of the most fun catches or fun moments was in 1975. We're playing the Yankees in Shea, and it's the first game of a doubleheader. There's like 55,000 people.
Is this the 1-0 game?
Yes. And that's a Billy's pitch in.
Yeah.
It's catfish. And Nettles hits a ball in the bottom of the ninth deep into the left center. Well, I'm playing him way to right center. And I don't know how long it ran, but it was a long way. And I dove and I caught it and did a somersault. Jimmy hurdles me in his knee. This is my head by about an inch. If he doesn't have the ability to jump, I'm still laying there. But anyway, I make that catch, and 55,000 people went silent. It was so cool. It was one of the highlights of my career, making 55,000 people be quiet.
And my guess is Bill Lee bought all the beers that night. It's just a guess.
Yeah, he was pretty happy.
I guess he still talks about it. He still talks about that catch.
Those Trojans, so, when he's on the mound, maybe I played better. I don't know.
Yeah, he won a College World Series at USC as well. So now, you talked about the postseason, and the Red Sox, didn't beat the Reds, but you had a tremendous ALCS.
We beat the defending champs.
Oakland.
The Oakland A's, they were heavily favored. Who are these young upstarts? But the difference between playing the Reds and playing the A's was that we'd seen them. Carl and a lot of the guys have seen the A's pitchers before, and it's my first time, but we've seen them earlier in the year. So it wasn't like that we didn't know them. I knew what the balls were going to do when the guys threw it. Unlike Cincinnati, we'd never seen them before. So that was a huge difference. Yeah, they were really good, but so were we. And, they caught us at a bad time. We were just playing great. And, I think we hit like 350 as a team against them.
Yeah, you swept them out big time. And Louis was great. I mean, it was a tremendous 3-game series for the Red Sox fans' perspective. But, you have a lifetime 407 postseason batting average, which, it's just 1 point higher than Ted Williams' 406 in 1941. Pretty good overall average for the postseason activity. Now, I got to ask you this because a bad date in Red Sox history for Red Sox fans was January 23rd, 1981. Fred Lynn as mentioned, one of the most beloved Red Sox players ever, and everybody's favorite player, gets traded to the California Angels. And there, Joe Rudy was involved in the trade, but he was way past his prime. And Frank Tanana, who Bill Lee says Frank Tanana is the only guy who threw 90 in the 70s and 70 in the 90s. You got traded for both those guys, and you're off to the Angels. And you not you, because it wasn't your choice. Broken-hearted Red Sox fans, Fred.
Yeah, that was a tough deal all the way around. There was a lot of things going on at the time with the Sox front office, and just the handwriting was on the wall. They just wanted to unload us. Carlton Fisk was in that, and so was Rick Burleson.
Right.
So the three of us. It wasn't just me.
Oh.
You took your shortstop and your catcher and your center fielder, and you got rid of them.
You gutted the team, basically, right up the middle.
What? I mean, who does that? That's the bread and butter of your defense.
And was that Haywood Sullivan?
2, 3, and 5 hitters in your lineup. It's like, whoa, who does that?
Who pulled the trigger on it? Was it Haywood Sullivan? Who was it?
He was a GM at the time. I think he got his marching orders higher up from that.
Yeah,
but,
right.
That's just one of those things. I really didn't have any control over that.
Well, in my memory, it's second.
I would have much preferred to be a Boston Red Sox my whole career. I mean, I love playing in Fenway. I love the fact that the fans were right there on top of you. And, and I love the intensity of the crowd. I mean, if you went to Fenway Park and you weren't quite ready mentally, you better be, because as soon as you stepped on that field, they expect you to do great things.
Right.
And if you didn't, they let you know, and that's okay. That's okay. They knew their game. So consequently, when I stepped on the field in Fenway, I was ready to go. And it was just a great delight. It was so much fun to play there.
Well, what was fun, too, is to watch the pitchers try to deal with your ability to cover the plate. And if they go out the outside corner on you, obviously they come inside, you're going to pull the ball and hit it hard. But when they go outside corner, you had a way. It wasn't like slapping at the ball, but you'd reach out and just smack it off that wall like a tennis volley. It was really fun to watch because they couldn't dick around with you that way and say, "Oh, I'll go to the outside corner, then ground it to third or short." No, you just slap it off the wall, inevitably.
What happened? When I first got there, our dugout's on the first base side, and I'm 21 when I get there, and I look out there and I see that wall. I say, "Whoa, that thing looks like it's close." And so I was a dead pull hitter. I never hit a ball to left field, like ever. It was a total mistake if I did. So wasn't too long into the season, I said, I got to figure out how to hit the ball over there. And what I started doing is I started pulling my hands inside, and so that the barrel of the bat lags through the zone. And even though my hands are out front, the barrel of the bat's still in the hitting zone, and it goes to left field with power.
Right.
That's the deal, with power. So I could take an inside pitch, and I had two options. If they beat me a little bit, I could go the other way, or I could go out in front and hook it. Now, the outside ball, if it didn't have enough on it, I could hook that too, or I could go the other way. So, yeah, it was really difficult to figure out for a pitcher in Fenway because I had so many options available to me because I learned how to do that. And it used to drive me crazy with the shift thing where guys, I keep hearing it all the time, well, how would you hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball the other way? Well, I know how. You practice. You do it in BP and make sure you get the fundamentals down, and then it'll come naturally to you. It can work. Well, now they banned the shift, so I don't have to worry about it. But, it was a great ballpark for a left-handed hitter that could go the other way. Huge advantage if you could take advantage of it.
The Gold Glove part of your career is one because center field is particularly difficult because it's hard to discern where the ball's going off the bat. You were really good at taking a look at it, then turning around, like turning your back to the plate, running to the spot where the ball was going to, and being there and making it look really kind of easy. And it clearly isn't. I mean, we talk about guys like Jackie Bradley Jr., Jimmy Pearsall, Paul Blair, Willie Mays, any of the great center fielders of all time. And it didn't always look easy. They got the job done, let's be clear. But somehow you were able to glide to the ball, Freddie. And I don't know, was that the skill of being able to discern where it's headed before you even took your first step?
Well, taking the direct route to the ball, One of the things you have to do is take a lot of balls off BP, and see how the balls are flying, okay, and learn how the ball's going to travel. Once if a right-hander hits it, how it's going to spin, and left-hander hits it, those kinds of things. A couple things as far as my footwork is concerned. Remember, I played defensive back in football, but I played basketball as well as a point guard. So I had all the footwork drills down from those two sports.
Mm-hmm.
In baseball, I didn't have to think about moving my feet. I just knew how to do it from doing those other sports. So I never got twisted. My hips are always in the right direction. And then there's an instinct about where the ball is going to go. Some guys have it, some don't. But probably the most important thing you can do is get the jump on the ball. Assume the ball is going to be hit to you on every pitch.
Right.
So that takes mental energy. I call defense the want to, because you have to want to do it, because it's not easy. And so when you anticipate like that, you always get a good jump on the ball. And so you're moving as the pitch is being thrown.
Yeah. And being, just as you said, the energy of being ready on every single pitch, even though 95% of them aren't going.
That's why, it used to be that, center fielders, they were great defensive players. They didn't care if they hit because it's so much energy required to play the position. And then you got guys like Mays and Mantle and all these great players, Ken Griffey Jr., all these guys that played center that can really hit. Well, that's just an extra added bonus.
That's a bonus. Imagine hitting is a bonus in baseball. I got to say, the Jim Edmonds catch, and I saw him at a bar in Chicago one time. I told him this too. Freddie, you made thousands of great catches in your career. The one greatest catch that I thought, the impossible catch, was the one he made running straight back towards center field. You remember that catch? Where
I do. Yeah.
That's an unbelievable catch. Now, maybe that's the highlight of his career. He seemed to think so when I bought him a beer. But the fact is, that was a pretty remarkable catch. I mean, talk about all out and making the diving wide receiver catch of the football in the end zone. It was beautiful. Did you have any particular idol as a center fielder when you were growing up that you would like to be as good as or a mimic?
Well, when I was a kid, I was a pitcher because I'm left-handed, right? And I could throw.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when I was in high school, a lot of teams were going to draft me as a pitcher. So I didn't really work on center field like I did when I got to college. But as a kid, my two guys that I loved were Mays and Clemente. Probably because they were 5-tool guys. They had no holes in their game. They could do everything really well.
Oh, yeah.
And they looked like they were having fun. They just looked like they just enjoyed the game.
Clemente was so great, wasn't he?
Yeah, they just made it look easy. And I said, well, geez, those guys are... I got to see them in person a few times.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting for me as a kid to see those guys play. And I said, geez, if I could do that, just have no holes in the game. You don't have to be the best at any one particular thing,
right,
but do all things well.
Right.
And so that's kind of how I molded myself.
I love Roberto Clemente. I mean, you know what I love the most about him? They don't have them anymore. Triples. He had 166 triples. People don't leave the batter's box like they're in any kind of hurry. A lot of these guys, they admire their own work. They're watching, oh, look at that ball fly. Get running, man. And part of that was the fact that he played in the ballpark he played in Pittsburgh, Forbes Field.
Huge.
You couldn't hit home runs there, but he had 166 triples. He was lights out of the box, and nobody had a better arm than Dwight Evans except Roberto Clemente, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he was a total player. He could do everything, and he played like his hair was on fire. But it was just fun to watch.
Yeah, he was.
And
great.
When you hit a triple because you're out of the box, like you're gonna hit a triple. You're full speed after 3 steps.
Yeah.
You're not just
Manny
around second.
Manny Ramirez
triples between first or home and first. That's where you hit them.
Manny was talented as Manny Ramirez was. He had 19 triples in his career. With that power and that kind of batting average, he should have had 50 to 100. I think Babe Ruth had 100. Let me ask you about the state of baseball now and a couple of current questions, because we have a musical guest coming up for you that's going to sing a song about a guy named Fred, and we have what we call Castiglioke. Joe Castiglioke and Troop are going to sing a song. But first, let me ask you about the rule changes that baseball has made, Fred. Are you on board with the pitch clock?
Well, I don't. Believe me, I don't watch spring training baseball, but I turned one on the other day because I wanted to see how the players were going to react. This is a big big deal for these guys.
Yeah.
Because when you watch hitters, I mean, they're stepping out, they're doing this, they're doing that. Oh my gosh, it's hard to watch. Well, now guys aren't even leaving the box. I mean, that back foot is anchored in.
Like Ted Williams.
That's almost ready to go before the pitcher thinks about throwing.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is a couple things. First thing that's going to happen, the games definitely will be shorter. Secondly, guys won't strike out as much. The ball's coming, and they're ready to go. They're going to put the ball in play, and there's no shift on. Then you watch, the strikeouts are going to go down. Home runs might go down a little bit, but there's going to be higher averages.
Right.
And the games are going to be shorter. There's going to be more action.
More contact.
Balls in play.
Yeah. Good.
Balls
I think
in play. And now your second baseman and your shortstops, now we're going to see how good you are defensively. You're going to have to move like back in the day.
And pay attention.
Yeah, so there's lots of exciting things I think are going to happen. More small ball, more things, lots of hit and run, steals, all those kinds of things where people are moving.
Yeah.
Hitting a home run is great, but striking out in the home runs, if that's your only deal, that's pretty boring.
Yeah, you're right.
Doubles, triples, singles.
It's become the 3-point play, like from basketball, where it just has taken over the game, the home run thing, and I think it's good. What about the bigger bases? That's kind of weird.
I don't know what to think about that. I mean, if Ricky Henderson was playing now, he'd probably steal 200. And then the fact that you can only throw over the first twice.
That's going to change things, yeah.
That's hamstringing the pitcher, right? If the guy can really run.
Sure.
That means what you're going to do, instead of throwing over there, you're going to hold it.
Yeah. Can you imagine the leads, Fred, that the fast guys are going to take now after the 2 throws have been made?
Well, yeah. I mean, you can throw over there, but you got to pick them off. Otherwise, it's a balk.
Oh my God.
So if I'm a lefty, I'm just going to hold and stare at them, hold, and then you got to make sure you hang your leg up there so maybe you freeze them a little bit. But and then now your catchers, man, there's going to be a big onus on those guys getting rid of the ball quickly because the guys are going to have better jumps.
What's that?
So it's going to speed up the game, and if it takes rule changes to do it instead of just the way it used to be played. And I made a comment to my son just today that the umpires used to be in control of the game pace.
Yes.
If you were lollygagging as a hitter, he'd say, hey, get in there and hit. Otherwise, I'm going to tell him to pitch and it's going to be a strike.
Sure.
Whoa, okay. But somewhere along the line, they lost control of the pace of the game. I'm not quite sure when that was, but they have.
Well, the players,
so now, the says, okay, we're going to push a button here, and we're going to speed it up. Yeah,
the players, and they worship the camera time, too, because it makes them more of a household name. But the other thing, too, is the commercial breaks have gotten longer in baseball. But the attention span of young people now, and I have a son who's 13, one who's going to be 17 this month, and they don't have the attention span to watch a 3.5-hour baseball game. If it can be 2 hours or 2.5, then I think we can get it done. Ben Kitchen has a question for you because he's a baseball card.
Yeah, well, I got a little Fred Lynn trivia for Fred Lynn.
Okay, that's good. He could probably answer this.
Let's see. Fred, your rookie card was the 1975 Topps card. You can currently pick up a gem mint condition version of it for about $5,000-$6,000. Not too bad.
Wow.
But there are 4 players total on the card, 3 with you. So, Fred Lynn, can you name the other 3 players
Good question.
on your rookie card?
Terry Whitfield, Tommy Poquette. Poquette was actually a teammate, I think in 78 or 79, briefly. Whitfield was drafted by the Yankees. He was supposed to be a big thing. Didn't quite make it, went to Japan.
No.
And then Ed Armbruster, the famous Ed Armbruster.
That son of a bitch! I hate that guy. Freddie, I hate him.
The series because of that call.
I hate that bastard.
Yeah, I can name those guys.
That son of a Ed Armbruster. That was interference from Carlton Fisk, and that Larry Barnett was a stupid fool jerk umpire. Ruined my life back then.
Oh, man. That was because I'm in center. I'm seeing the play unfold. I can see Pudge push him out of the way.
Sure.
Now I'm covering second because Pudge is throwing.
Yeah.
And now that knocks him, knocks his momentum off, and he throws it to me, and it's a bang-bang play at third, and he's safe. Well, that run actually scored, and we lost that game by a run.
Yes.
So, geez, Did that play matter? Yeah. Was it interference? Yeah.
And he's on your card. If I had that card, I would have cut him out of that card. I would have just left. I would have left you in there and cut him right out of the corner. Oh man. Well, Freddie, you're a great guest. You're a good guy. I'm so glad you got new knees and things are good for you out in California. And I want to, well, if you don't mind, we'll leave you with this great Castiglioke tribute. It's a song from when you were 7 years old.
And I can't wait.
You listen to, you hear them refer to Fred, and just imagine that it's you. Here we go with Castiglioke and Fred Lynn. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, here we go. The music. Ready? Here we go. Ready? Play it. Play it. Uh-oh, where is it? There it is. Joe and Jerry. I'm right here. 7 little girls sitting in the back seat, hugging and a-kissing with Fred. I said, why don't one of you come up and sit beside me? And this is what the 7 girls said.
All together now, 1, 2, 3. Keep your mind on your drive and keep your hands on the wheel. Keep your sleepy eyes on the road ahead. We're having fun, sitting in the backseat, kissing and hugging with Fred.
My turn. Yeah, I'm going to do this one, Joe. Ready? Are you ready? Go ahead, Joe. Drove through the town, Joe. Drove through the country. Showed him how a motor could go. I said, how do you like my triple carburetor? And one of them whispered down low.
All together now, 1, 2, 3. Keep your mind on your drive and keep your hands on the wheel. Keep your snoopy eyes on the road ahead. We're having fun, sitting in the backseat, kissing and hugging.
Red Fred! Shadooby
I remember
dooby.
that.
Shadooby dooby doo doo.